しょう。南無阿弥陀仏。
南無阿弥陀仏。
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 南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。南無阿弥陀仏。 世主不祭庶民具政府上昇学が市上仏の妙所長寺法空教未書の政府上昇学利欲人少年上映宗門業しぐ無常の一生天人し人力縁内公不祥無才道少女三苦名交際集約難回避支援滅死根門案閉塞諸悪の通達全宗門高僧上満足異様老寺法日月修十期天候不言一種解放像公正功徳法上大修十説法ししく供養一切部具足習徳法元年心上難徳意三害用女仏無下地通達未不詳願学へに投資最小尊志願や国家大戦の感動国書天に統一妙慶願にしく ナモ阿弥陀仏。
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 ナマンダー、ナマンダー、ナマンダー、ナマンダー、ナマンダー、ナマンダー、ナマンダー。
上人一流のご関係の趣は信心のもって本とせられ候。そのゆえはもろもろの造業を投げ捨てて一心に皆に奇妙すれば。不可思議の眼力として仏の方より往生は事情をせしめたも。そのくらいを一年発起入賞上始終とも釈し。その上の称名念仏った如来我が往生を定めたまいし、ご恩法人の念仏と心べきなり、あなかしこあなかしこ。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。
The tradition of Shinran Shonin. What is taught in the tradition of Shinran Shonin is that the entrusting heart is essential. For when we abandon various practices and take refuge in Amida with singleness of heart, our birth in the Pure Land is settled by the Buddha through the inconceivable vow power. The state we thus attain is described as, with awakening of single thought of entrusting, we join those who are in the stage of the truly settled. Recitation of the Nembutsu thereafter should be understood to be the Nembutsu of an expression of gratitude for the Tathagata's benevolence for settling our birth in the Pure Land. Humbly and respectfully. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu.
Hi, Sensei. What are you carrying?
Oh, this?
Yes.
Oh, this is my Motai Nai bag. This is my bag that I don't waste anything out of, and I use everything I have in it. And since right now I have a lot of free time, I've got things that I have fun in it with. Do you want to see?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to show you. So, right now I've got a lot of free time. So, I've got in my Motai Nai bag things that I like to do for fun. So let's see. In here I've got some books. So this is one of my favorite sci-fi books. It's from Frank Herbert, Chapter House Dune. This is a good one. And then I also like to read manga. So here's some manga I like to read from Trigun. And then I also really like to draw. And so I've got paper in here. So I've got regular paper and white paper. And I've got graph paper too for when I'm doing engineering projects and math projects for fun. So this is fun. And I've got my pencil case in here. So I've got pencils and pens and markers and everything I need to do fun things with. So that's fun. And also, I really like to play video games. And so I've got my video game controller in here. So when I want to play video games, I can play video games. It's very fun. I play Final Fantasy, and I play Destiny, and Madden, and Ace Combat, and all the fun games. So I can do that with this. This is my video game controller. And then I have my football on here. Because even though I don't have time to go, or I can't go play with my friends right now because of the quarantine, I can still practice a lot. And if you practice a lot, you get even better, and then it becomes more fun. Did you guys know that the Buddha does things for fun too? It's said that the Buddha likes to sport, likes to play around in the ocean of birth and death, in samsara, in our land. And so that as the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas come down and are part of life with us, they do this specifically so that they can free us. And for them, that is a lot of fun. So they do what they can to have fun in any situation. And we can also do that right now. So even though things are kind of weird, and we're in quarantine, and we can't go out, and we can't see our friends, and we're not in school, and all these other things, we can still have a whole lot of fun. And we can have fun just like the Buddhas have. And one of the ways that we appreciate the Buddhas for all the fun they're having and helping us move forward with our lives and helping us look towards the Pure Land is by saying the Nembutsu. So do you guys want to say the Nembutsu with me? All right. So I'm going to put my football down. And we're going to say the Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. Namanda Butsu. So, now that you guys have all this free time and all these interesting things you can do, let's have a lot of fun. And so, even though we're in quarantine, we can still have a great time. So remember, practice your sports. Come play Australian rules football like Sensei. Or play video games, or read books, or draw, and expand your world. Because this is your chance. And never forget to be grateful for everything you've been given, and that everything's okay right now. So no matter what, you can be happy, healthy, and you can waste not of your time. Motanai. All right, everybody. Goodbye. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye, Sensei.
Bye.
Okay, if everyone could please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu.
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 Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for yet another version of our video services here at the Tri-State Denver Buddhist Temple. Now, as you all know, last week we did the Hanamatsuri service, which is the service commemorating the birth of Shakyamuni Buddha. And again, as you all know, we tell the same story every year, the tale of the Buddha's miraculous birth, and each element of the story does have what we would see now as sort of fantastical elements. And every time I tell this story, there are people who ask questions because it seems ultimately like a children's story. It has elephants coming down from the moon. It has walking babies. It has beautiful, painless births in lovely gardens. And even though we may see these things as more akin to children's tales, we always have to remember that our mythologies or our truth stories are just that. Truth stories. It's not that we necessarily have to absolutely believe that elephants come from the moon or that babies walk, but all of these things are symbols of the teachings themselves. So when we listen to these stories, it's not that we're supposed to focus on the specific elements, but on what the specific elements themselves mean. So when we think of things like the white elephant at the time this story was being told was an auspicious symbol. And probably the people at the time who were listening to these stories understood all of the different symbols throughout the story, that it was not a white elephant, it was an auspicious sign because Queen Maya was finally getting the baby that she wanted, and her husband was finally getting the heir that he wanted, and this was going to be a great person. Now, in Buddhism, of course, we always talk about the idea of perception, how we see things. And when we talk about it, we say often that everything that we experience or feel is mind created. It has to do with things that we have learned throughout our lives, the people we grew up with, the people that we come in contact with, and this is how we are able to understand our world. It's not that these things don't actually exist, it's just that they might exist a little differently from person to person. However, when we pass on stories, such as the story of the birth of the Buddha, we are trying to make it so that we have something of a collective understanding of what these tales mean. And when we begin to understand that it has a collective meaning, it gives us a sense of belonging, but also helps us to better understand the teachings themselves. Our perceptions, though, are kind of funny. Now, there are bits of this story every year that I may see a little differently depending on where I am at in my particular life, but I notice that because I have to tell that story every year. However, people who hear it every year maybe will just remember the specific things, the tea rain falling from the sky, the flowers falling from the trees, and these are things that are consistently important and beautiful to them. However, again, we all perceive things differently. So I'm going to tell a short little story about how one's perception can shape one's feelings or experience of what we would call the real world. So many years ago, I was living in Berkeley, going to the Institute of Buddhist Studies. And at the time, for a couple of years, my daughter and I were living at the school dorm. Now, again, the dorm is in Berkeley, California, and the entire 4 years that we were there, I swore that I had never really experienced an earthquake. I was told that maybe when I was sitting in the house, if it felt like a big truck was rumbling down the street, that was probably an earthquake because minor ones happened all the time. Being from Colorado, I have no frame of reference. However, frame of reference I do have are scary movies. So one year, around Halloween time, I was in the midst of my scary movie marathon. And the movie I was watching on this particular day was Night of the Living Dead. Now, this movie, for those of you who don't know, it's a movie about zombies, and it's kind of one of the first of many, many zombie movies. There were zombie movies before, but this one kind of kicked off the whole zombie movie trend. And the thing I always liked about it that made it very, very scary is that this group of random people end up stuck in this house together. And so they're spending all this time, like many of them freaking out because as the longer they stay in the house, the more zombies start coming, and the more that start coming, the more likely it is that they're going to get into the house and try to eat the brains of the people inside. And so we're going along and the movie's getting more and more tense. And at a certain point, they start taking down interior doors and anything that they can find to shore up the doors and windows on the outside. And at one particular moment, a man has picked up a huge board and he's set it up against the window, and he takes the hammer, and right as he strikes the nail, the entire room that I was sitting in starts shaking. Now, this was a rather large earthquake. The mirror on the wall of the dorm starts shaking, and it took me longer probably than it should have to realize that the guy in the movie was not the one who caused the whole house to shake. Now, this is because, not only I have no reference for earthquakes, but also because I was so engrossed in the movie that I was really getting into it. And it wasn't until one of my housemates came down the stairs and said, "Oh my goodness, that was the biggest earthquake," that I was like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what that was. And that particular season, we had a couple of pretty good ones and scared my daughter, who was very small at the time, and maybe made me a little nervous because I had never been through them. But it seemed huge to me. However, talking to my daughter's teacher the next day, who was originally from the Bay Area, she was very full of scorn and scoffing because she said that one was tiny. So to me, something so big that made me think that a guy on the television had actually caused it, because my perception was so off at the time, was something that was completely minor to somebody else who had sort of a different viewpoint because she'd grown up there. So again, going back to my perception, we all have these ideas that are very specific to us. We have stories that we can share. I know plenty of people who have seen Night of the Living Dead before, but plenty of people who have also seen different things in the movie that I have not, who think things about the movie that I find particularly scary or tense. The sense of claustrophobia in the movie is something that I find the most horrifying, whereas other people who may be not so claustrophobic or prone to claustrophobia, I guess, didn't notice quite as much. They were more focused on the scary zombies and the brain eating that was going on. So every year, and actually every time we observe a major service, we tend to tell these stories that may have some more fantastical elements. But if we start to look at them, we can see that our stories and our perceptions of these stories, whether they change or stay the same every year, are ways for us to help us see and understand our world better. But if we are also open to letting go of some of our own little perceptions, of trying to see things in these stories or in our daily lives the way someone else might see it, it also helps us to, whether we share the story or not, see things in a much broader sense. We are able to, as the Buddha is always trying to get us to, see with more of the light of wisdom, rather than standing in front and blocking it and focusing on our own personal perception. We start to see things better, and with the eyes of the light of wisdom, not perfect like the Buddha's light of wisdom, but little by little we begin to understand that this is why the light is shining from the Pure Land, to help us to open our eyes and to understand not only our own worlds, but see our place in the world with everyone else. So thank you all for coming this morning. Stay happy, stay healthy, do the best you can, and we will close with Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu.
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 Namo Amida Butsu.